breathe in. Now I took what I want, but you find that everything they've got, you step forwards to my shadow. You I follow in my pattern. I look.
Hello and welcome to the Ladies' Room. Today it is my pleasure to have with me Gregory Ann Cox, who is a lifestyle coach and a wonderful healthy lifestyle chef. You also, welcome Greg.
Thank you very much.
You also have a website called Midlife with a Crisis. No, Midlife with a Vengeance to avoid the crisis.
Exactly. We're avoiding crisis wherever we can.
So what made you do that and why that name?
I needed a website because I wanted to get information to people, and everybody has an online presence, and we all have to be doing the social media and everything else. So it's hard to come up with a name. You know how it is to name something.
Yeah,
and
all the
your
names are
your show
taken.
is so great.
Thank you.
And so I worked with somebody who does naming, branding.
Oh.
And we went through tons of iterations, and finally it just hit me. Midlife with a Vengeance is sort of how I am. I take on everything with a lot of energy. And I thought, for the second half of life, how great to feel like, just get in there, jump in there, and do it with gusto, with a vengeance. It's the second half. It shouldn't mean that we're, passed over and not seen and not heard, and you're too old, you're too fat, you're too this. It shouldn't be about that at all.
We are women. Hear us roar.
There you go.
So, and you work with a coach that taught you how to put together this website. It's a beautiful website.
Thank
and you're
you.
adorable in all the videos. I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. I worked with somebody who, we worked the concept together, but I had a graphic designer actually help me formulate the look of it, which, as you know, it's I guess it could be a white limo. There's only a little bit of the car with a pair of feet sticking out with pink flip-flops. And I love the beach. I've always been a beach girl.
Me
and the
too.
idea of me riding around in my limo with my feeties sticking out, although I would have a black limo, not a white one. And then the signpost, Midlife with a Vengeance, we're at a crossroads in the second half of life. So the graphic designer was really the person who put the look out there for me.
And what gets you going each day? How do you start your day, and what do you do all day?
What gets me going every day is knowing that there is so much great information to get out there to women, and that gets me fired up. I'm passionate about helping women feel better because I hear so many people, and I still hang out with girlfriends from high school, and so those are the people they're going to give you the goods. They don't have the energy they used to. They can't lose weight. They don't feel like sexy. They don't, and I'm exactly I was all of those things. I've been through everything I teach. I researched, everything that I teach is based in science. I don't go off onto the fringe woo-woo stuff. But there are so many easy ways to help women feel better and get your energy back and get your sass back. And the way I start my day really is with a little bit of gratitude in the morning. And then I have a green drink, which is a green powder with maybe, barley and wheatgrass and all that, and some vitamins. I take a lot of vitamins.
Green Vibrance?
Sometimes I do, but I tried
I
a new
love
one.
Green Vibrance. Oh, what's the new one?
I don't know. It's a women's something, and it's organic. I just try to find an organic one, and I thought, I just like to mix up the flavors once in a while.
I think it's good to change things up, too, because if your body gets into a rut, it just kind of gets into a rut.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I try to get exercise I try to do something every day. So that maybe it's yoga, maybe it's going to the gym. We have a Springer Spaniel. So that's always a fast walk.
On the beach.
It's a big fast walk, and I try to feed myself well because that's the key to having sustained energy and feeling good.
And so you said something about teaching women to change their stories, even if it's a genetic story. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is something that this gets me out of bed. It's so exciting. So let's just say that somebody has a family history of diabetes, or maybe I had a client that 4 sisters in the family. She was the youngest. All 3 sisters had transitioned into their 50s and were putting on weight. She was late 40s, and she said, well, I'm just going to gain weight. Or somebody else might say, I'm just going to get heart disease.
I have big bones, so I'm going to be heavy.
Exactly. But that's not the truth of it. Your family, your genes are a blueprint. They're nothing more, nothing less. They don't have control of you. And we were taught Newtonian physics was one thing until another line of physics came along. Quantum physics told us that it's not just gravity, it's energy. Everything is energy.
Energy and vibration.
And so if we are energy, And there's a study called epigenetics, which is the science of what goes on around the gene in our body. The environment around the gene is what causes genes to be expressed or not. So the man who designs your home, they draw up blueprints, and then the builders take the blueprint, and the builder can interpret certain blueprint things slightly differently maybe than another builder would. That's the same thing. So our environment is what we think about, believe it or not, what we think about, our feelings, whether we exercise, what we eat, our stress level, all of these things determine which genes turn on or turn off. Therefore, you don't have to get the disease. There's less than 5% of maladies or diseases in the world that are directly related to genes. 5%. So there are a lot of people in the world feeling bad that maybe don't have to. So I work with women to write a new story that says there's a possibility that could happen, but I'd like to try this and see if maybe we don't have to go there, because I don't want diabetes or I don't want to be on drugs all my life.
Right. Well, I think that because we're of a certain generation, that we were raised by parents that were like, oh, be careful, don't do this, don't do that. We were raised in a very negative environment. And so it's one thing to have positive thinking, but it's another to weed out all that negativity.
Yes.
Because it's so many years of programming.
So many years
So
of
you have to
programming.
tell yourself positive things all the time to overcome that. And the brain has all these grooves in it. And as you spend less time in the negative groove and carve in the positive groove, this one covers over, and you literally can change everything.
Absolutely.
And even mistakes you've made in your life, you can change them in your mind, because there's no such thing as a mistake. They're all growth experiences.
Exactly.
They're opportunities to change. It's nature's way of telling you, no, this way doesn't work. There's a better way.
Right.
And it just steers you in a different direction. There really are no accidents, right?
No.
So, so you don't believe we need to gain weight as we get older?
I don't. We also don't need to succumb to the diseases of aging, but or the way we look. You've seen vibrant people that are 80, you know. The weight gain is complicated for both sexes. It's more complicated for women because of our hormones.
Yeah.
And when estrogen levels decline naturally in the body, we still need estrogen. It's cardioprotective, it's brain protective. That's why hormone restoration is so popular these days. But the estrogen that we do have after our ovaries stop producing it, there's still some, and it resides in the fat. So our fat cells want to hold on to as much estrogen as they can. The body's smart. We need estrogen. It keeps us healthy.
And
it
the
keeps our
fat
bones
wants
strong.
to stay young.
The fat loves itself. It loves more friends. It's like
I
more
want to be a wiry old
please,
bird. I want to be
and we
the fat
look
lady
better when
who's
we have
singing.
But in any event, so then we need to do certain things to counteract that fat storage potential. There's a greater potential for fat storage. And there's a doctor that I absolutely love. Her name is Mia London. She wrote a great book called Female Brain Gone Insane. And she talks from, all through life.
Female brain got insane.
Gone insane. She talks, I interviewed her, and she said most women at late perimenopause going into menopause have to start eating like diabetics because we become gluten sensitive, we become sugar sensitive, insulin sensitive because we eat too much, things that cause insulin spikes. And it's really not that difficult. It's not to say you can never have any of those things that we love, like pasta.
Life without pasta and cheese is not worth living.
I'm with you.
But I know, I think 90%, I just put my hand over there. I think 95% of humanity is allergic to wheat and dairy. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
They don't realize it.
Some people have sensitivity, not so much an
postnasal drip and the cough. And if you just stay away from wheat and dairy for a while, you notice the difference. You're very clear.
Yes.
But I can't stay away from it.
Well, I've done it, right? But I don't
I've
love
done it.
And I don't feel terrible when I eat what I eat.
No.
So I'm not going to stop something unless it makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
And it's.
But when you do one of those cleanses, and cleanses don't have to be fasts. People think cleanses are fasts. You can do, even the master cleanse is so simple because it's just lemon juice, maple syrup, and a little cayenne pepper. You don't even need the cayenne pepper, but it's really good. Gives it a kick.
I love hot food.
Yeah, and then eat organic greens salad for lunch with a little lemon juice and olive oil on it, and then dinner steamed vegetables. And just 3 days of that, and your system really starts clearing out. And you're not starving.
No.
Because you drink that lemon juice anytime you feel a little hungry or thirsty. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think we recalibrate our taste buds when we take away a lot of the things
true.
like the salt and the sugar and the dairy, which coats the tongue. And
Yeah.
so then when we do start eating again, we're like, wow, this tastes
Oh,
really good.
my husband and I did that fast for a week, and then we went to a dinner party on Friday night, and everything was like ambrosia and asparagus. Oh my God, this is so good.
That's
And
funny.
the people had a really good wine cellar, and Michael and I were like, oh my God. They were like, what is up with you guys? And we're like, we haven't eaten in 5 days. Meanwhile, we were eating, but
Well, yeah.
not food like that. It was so good. They had paella. Oh, it was so good.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
paella.
So, what are the most important things when you coach women? What do you teach them about their bodies? Where do you start with a woman? Let's say a woman's like 20 pounds overweight and getting depressed and in a slump, and kids are getting older now, and she doesn't know what to do with her life. She's bored. Boredom, you want to eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Depressed, you want to eat.
Yeah.
That's the comfort.
You know, of course, the individual is going to determine where we begin. So somebody might say the weight is the most important thing for me. And once we get that managed, she might find that there's more energy for something else. Somebody else might come in and say, I don't know what to do with myself because my kids are going to move out next fall, and what am I going to do? You know, so we start where we are, but there are commonalities, and one of them is a self-assessment. For the person to write down, where are you? What makes you happy? What makes you unhappy? What are you tolerating in your life? It's a big one. We have this category in coaching called tolerations. And it could be the shoelace that doesn't work on your sneakers anymore, but you work out every day and you go, oh, tomorrow. So you spend 5 minutes trying to wiggle it around and make it stay. Yeah. Or it could be a person in your life that's just an energy vampire. Everybody talks about energy vampires. It could be
psychic vampires.
Where we live. You know, if the kids are moving away and you've stayed in a town because you wanted them to have the kind of education or their friends and you don't like it anymore, well, when they go, what's stopping you? Maybe you want to research where to go. And if it's the weight loss, again, I have an assessment called the Midlife Lifestyle Assessment, which I wrote, and it asks you to tell me a little bit about your day and how you feel after certain foods and what your basic habits are, vitamins, drugs, whatever you take. And from there, we can say, okay, here's where you are, here's where you say you want to be, there's a gap. So we're going to fill in things. We're going to start with that story. What's your story? Maybe the woman says, well, I'll never be the way I looked in college. Well, if that's a goal.
Well, duh.
But if that's a goal and it's realistic, maybe we can. Let's try. You know, there's nothing off limits unless somebody were to say, you know, I want to be a Russian ballerina, and they're actually like, you know, American and 55 years old. Probably not going to happen.
We could eat a half a pound of resveratrol a day, and then maybe we would look like we were in high school.
Maybe. I'm a big fan of resveratrol.
And all that research, they really have proven in a lot of species that all disease is related to aging. Yep. So if you can reverse that aging gene, which now they have isolated, I think it's the T20 gene, if you can just deal with that gene, you can actually reverse the aging process and stave off the diseases. Yeah, it's very interesting research.
Well, and you and I were talking before the show started that the latest statistic is that 80% of diseases are related to lifestyle, which means diabetes, cancers, many cancers, although people don't want to hear that, obesity, insulin sensitivity, with a change in lifestyle, moderate changes. Now, the bigger changes are going to make the bigger difference, but even simple little changes can keep people out of those disease processes or reverse them.
We all have cancers in and out of our body every day. And this little lump or little cell that we may have today, next week will be gone. And it really gets me crazy when people rush off and immediately have biopsies and like, oh, I've got to deal with it now. When if you kept your immune system really strong or did a cleanse or maybe got an ozone treatment, it would be gone. And I just read online about 2 weeks ago a whole new study by the Cancer Research, American Cancer Society, that says exactly that we have cancers in and out of our body every day. I owned a health food restaurant in 1971.
Oh, wow.
And that all the research and studying I did, and of course we had a health food store and a lot of books. That's what they all said. Now, the AMA is never going to say that because it's such big business.
Very big business.
But people just really need to clean the toxins out of their body. And your body can just put up with it for so long.
Yes.
And when you're young, you know, you can deal with stuff like that. But when you get older, it's more difficult. So you have to be more vigilant with a vengeance.
With a vengeance, I'm telling you. It's almost like having, you know, when your children are young and you're 24/7, you're teaching them their manners. I figured at this age, it's 24/7, I'm teaching my brain to make sure that I go for the veggies, and I make sure that I'm drinking water, and I make sure that I'm doing some form of movement. You know, we were born to cross the plains. We weren't born to sit in a chair.
Yeah.
And there's tons of research about groups of executives that are having meetings while they walk through the buildings because the ideas that are generated are more creative when we're moving. So they get a little exercise, they get more creativity going. Yeah, really interesting. And you must have seen some of those treadmills with the laptop holder at the top. Oh yeah, those are gaining in popularity as well, so that you can walk at a very slow pace throughout your day, take little walking breaks and still be productive, which I think a little bit, maybe I need to detach from my work and get my movement separate so that my mind can detach. But
yeah, I think it gives your body mixed messages too, and the body is so plastic that it'll adjust to whatever the situation is very quickly, and that's why it's really good to change it up too. Yeah. That's interesting, though. Wouldn't that be funny to see a workplace with the desks built right into the treadmill?
I've seen them.
Jim Carrey was on, I think, David Letterman one night, and he was going to be on set. He was going to be the host on Saturday Night Live that week, and he was just saying he was getting in shape for the show. And his whole 15-minute interview with David Letterman, he did on a treadmill. And he talked the whole time, and he was running, and it was hysterical.
My gosh.
He played the guitar on the treadmill. I'm not a big favorite of Jim Carrey's, but I mean, he's not a big favorite of mine. I'm not a big favorite of his. He's never really liked me. I don't know why, but I have to say he was great that night. And on Saturday Night Live, he did Black Swan, and he was the Black Swan. Oh my God, he was funny in the tutu, and he kept going like that. I didn't see the movie, but oh my God, he was hysterical.
I bet you it's on YouTube. I'll have to look on YouTube.
Oh, it's a Jim Carrey thing.
I'm sure it is.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? Do you cook for people a lot? I know you're a chef too.
I was
How do you
a professional
deal with all
chef
of that?
forever until I couldn't take it anymore in restaurants and hotels and things. And I still do have some private clients. I live out in the Hamptons, so I have some clients out there that I will go to their house when they're out for the summer and cook dinner for a couple of nights in a row. I don't do catering anymore. But what I'm really excited about is working with women. And I do a one-day process where somebody will say, I need help on everything. So I go to their home. We spend an entire day together. We do a pantry purge. We talk about what their day looks like. If they have a significant other or spouse, we actually, at the end of the day, have dinner together so that I can sort of be the mediator, because sometimes it's hard for one person to make changes when the other person doesn't want to change. And so I'm there to, kind of smooth it out all so that everybody's going to be happy and figure out a way to make people happy. So I do coach during the summer. I run weight loss classes. I do most of my coaching on the phone or by Skype video now because I have clients all over the world. It's just because of that online presence, I've been able to reach a wider audience than just locally.
So great.
Yeah, and I don't see stopping. I just want to do more working with people.
So now, do you, in your own experience, you deal with a lot of the issues that you're helping women with? How do you help yourself?
Good question. When I started, maybe mid-40s, a little bit later, and I started getting really bad hot flashes because I was always estrogen dominant as a young person. It's a term I learned much later, but really bad PMS, all that stuff. And I was miserable. I wasn't sleeping, and I thought, I got to do something.
But I still don't sleep. I never have been a good sleeper.
Yeah, it's so important to your health.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my 5 pillars of good health and aging well. But I do everything that I went through and learned how to remedy, and I tried things that didn't work, and I have lots of great resources that are doctors and naturopaths and dietitians, and then I check in with them, and I try something again. So I have figured out, I actually weigh what I weighed in college now, and I didn't 2 years ago.
I kind of do
I was in
too.
health, in a healthy shape, but I wasn't real, and it didn't really bother me, but all of a sudden, since I've started to change my diet and make sure that I'm getting that movement and sleeping. Oh my God, sleep is so important, especially for women that are trying to lose weight. And the right kind of exercise, constantly pounding a treadmill or seriously intense exercise for a long time actually doesn't burn fat, it stores fat. Because the body is under stress. It doesn't know what's happening, cortisol.
Yeah.
So I basically practice I'm religious. Now, they're not to say I love chicken wings, I drink wine, I have chocolate when I want it. You know, it's not, I don't believe in deprivation because life is for living. Yeah. And food is a very important part of enjoyment for most people. There are very few ascetes. I know a few that don't really care about food, but not many. So, but I've had to moderate some of the food that my intake isn't what it was when I was in my 30s, but I still enjoy everything. Yeah. And that is, for me, if I'm not, when it stops being enjoyable, I got to change it up.
It's interesting. We were just talking this weekend about, like, when our children were little, we made waffles all the time and pancakes all the time. We don't eat that stuff anymore. My daughter doesn't want to eat it. She's 24 now, and she doesn't want to eat bread. She doesn't want waffles. I mean, if we really want that maple syrup hit, we can make a really good French toast with a good organic health food bread and soak it with a lot of egg, and you get to pour the maple syrup on it, and you get the same satisfaction as the waffle. But we were talking about getting rid of all that stuff in the basement. We haven't used the waffle machine probably in, I don't know, 18 years.
Wow, that's funny.
It was my favorite thing when I was a kid, waffles. My dad would say, "What do you want for breakfast?" And I'd say, "Waffles." And we had the two round things that weighed
like
a ton.
Restaurant one. That's a restaurant.
It was great.
Oh, that's funny.
It was great.
Yeah, Mom used to make us pancakes, but she would draw like our initials in the pan upside down, so that when she put the pan, flipped it, we'd each have a pancake with our little initial.
Really?
That was our heaven.
How cool was that? So how do you get the initials to stay in the pan?
You pour the batter in the shape of the initial and you give it about 30 seconds, so you let it set up. Then you pour the rest of the batter on.
How did she think of that? She must have seen that on Howdy Doody or something.
Or Heloise, or who knows. Martha wasn't around, so it must have been one of those shows.
Yeah, Heloise.
Yeah, but we ate pancakes too.
Last night we were in a restaurant. We went to Montauk to East by Northeast, which is great. Have you ever eaten there?
I haven't. I've heard of it, though.
They have a $16 price fix. That this week is Restaurant Week, but next week it goes back to that 16. Okay. Yeah, it just started last night, which we didn't know. We went for the $16 price fix, and
it was 24.
Instead it was 25. But it was great. But what was I going to say about it?
You were talking about...
Oh, Howdy Doody. For some reason, we got talking about, I don't know, Howdy Doody, and my daughter said, well, one person was saying Ed McMahon played Clarabelle. And I said, no, he didn't. And he said, yes, he did. So we had a bet. So then Jennifer said, I'll Google it. Next thing, we're all watching Howdy Doody videos on the phones. It was like so insane, all these people on their phones at the dinner table.
That is funny.
God,
and were they right?
No, I don't think he was right. No, it never said that Ed McMahon played Clarabelle, but he's going to research it now because he didn't give up.
He's on a mission.
He didn't give up the $10 on the spot, that's for sure. So you used to run Robbins Island. What was that like?
That was a combination of magical and Mephisto. It was a very demanding, and I was one of 4 managers, so I was the hospitality, because of course there's so much going on. You need a grounds person. How big is
Robbins Island?
It's 430 acres.
That's big.
It is big, and we used to have exceptionally high-end visitors, so that we would run it almost like a 5-star resort.
How many buildings are on it?
You know, I don't really know right now, but I think there were probably 5, like 2 homes and the barn where there were, so there's a maintenance.
So the guests, did they have their own house, or were they actually in the main house, or
the couple of main houses have guest bedrooms. They're big enough to have guests. It just depended on who
it was,
who was there, and
what
which
was
house.
The event.
I mean, Lewis is now he has another young family, and so their house, even though it has guest bedrooms, pretty much my understanding. I haven't been there in a while. Is that that's their house, and then people will stay elsewhere. But when it was Lewis Entertaining for Business, of course, people wanted to stay nearby and gather for dinners and things. No, it was great. I met a lot of great people, and I still have clients that I met while I was working there.
Interesting owning your own island, right?
I know.
I went to a psychic reader when I was about 24. She was 98, and she was reading my palm, and then she said, "Tell me, my dear, have you ever dreamt about having a ranch or an island?" And I said, yes. And she said, well, let me tell you, my dear, you're going to have them both.
Well.
She said that. I live on Long Island.
Okay.
And we do have a little ranch. And we do have a little ranch.
Island.
Yeah. Pretty funny. And I grew up on Fire Island, so it's always islands. And I love the islands. You can buy an island down in the Caribbean or anywhere, really, for like $100,000. There's lots of islands for sale. Lots of islands for sale.
And lots of water disruptions lately that make me think I might not want to have
the poor
an
people
island.
in Japan. Oh, my God. No, they'll be underwater. And the thing is, you have to have the money to bring in the electrical and the
Yes,
water and
yes.
everything. So
I like to go visit and let somebody else worry
yeah,
about all that.
Lewis has it like that. So
Yeah, Lewis,
great for
yeah.
him.
Yeah, and he's a
Yeah.
really nice man.
So will you come back and cook for us? When you cook, when you go to a person's house, do they tell you what they feel like eating, or do you suggest different menus to them? How does that work?
You know, I have the ultimate luxury because I've known most of my clients for a long time. They almost never say what they want. So I
Okay,
get to go to the
surprise
market
me.
and I get to see what fish is. Most of my clients want fish first and some like, meat, but I go to the market and see what fish is there. I go pick out my veggies. Maybe I've driven by somewhere. I'll just pick things up on my way, the day before if I'm out shopping. And I try to get as many veggies on the plate as I can, I'll tell you that. But you won't feel like you're eating a ton of veggies. Because it's funny, when I interview or do the assessment with clients, I always say, do you eat, how many servings of vegetables do you eat?
Yeah.
And people always overestimate. Then we start actually talking about what they eat during the day. They maybe get 2 to 3, but they think they're eating 5 to 7 somehow. I don't know where these things are hiding in life. But we
really
just
should
know
have
that the antioxidant properties and the phytonutrients in these plant-based foods are so important.
Well,
And out here in the summer with all the farmers markets, what's not to love,
And some vegetables release more nutrients when they're cooked, like carrots, but really 75% of our diet should be raw. So getting them to eat the raw vegetables is
well, my clients are pretty
trick.
good. They
Big
are
salads and stuff.
good salads, and we do a lot of grilled vegetables, but I don't grill them to death. I'm just putting a little heat and a little color on them, and I can't wait for the grill. It's been a little cold to get on the grill.
I look forward to having you back to cook
Thank you.
for
I'd
us.
love to cook for you.
And thank you so much for
Thank you. I
joining us
really appreciate your
today.
time. Thanks so much
It
for
was,
taking time to interview me.
lovely to be with you.
Nice to play with you.
Thank you for joining us at the Ladies' Room. And remember, ladies, give yourself lots of room. Room for love, room for fooling around in the dark, room for fun, room to grow, and room to glow. See you next week.
Breathe in. Now I took what I want, but you find that everything I've got, you step forwards to my shadow. You are follow in my pattern. I look into the sky.